mean, there is nothing stopping anyone, I mean, you know, from creating these. I've seen folks with these very nice prototypes of, quotes, next generation content publications that they've put on the iPad. All of these things are things that you could do on a computer and have been able to do on a computer for years. People have been doing them with Air for the last several years. They don't get used. They don't get used, right? Because our consumption has become so web-oriented, and particularly if you look at the generational interaction with content, it is so web-oriented that I frankly find it hard to imagine how an experience on the iPad can be so compellingly different that I will give up the web browser that's one click away on the iPad and consume my content through this slick new app that I pay for. Again, I just have a hard time getting there. You know, as I've said, I agree that we clearly have to look for alternate revenue streams and not just rely on advertising. But again, looking at the traditional media companies, there is such a delta in the business models between traditional and online that it's really scary. You know, I like to talk a lot about cost of goods. I kind of just got to get this down to numbers. You know, my current cost per 1,000 page views is about $6. My guess is Greg's about $1. The New York Times, my back-of-the-envelope calculation, and I was told that this was conservative, is in excess of $65. And that's just taking my rough assessment of their cost of goods, right? I'm not talking about the printing trucks, the cost of editorial and anything associated with creating a digital product against their page views, and it's well beyond $60.
$60, what's the measurement?
Per 1,000 page views. So, you know, and we're still talking CPMs out here today on average that are, you know, exponent less. So we're talking about really extremely different environments here.
Which reinforces the notion that we've got to get to work on figuring out subscriber-driven revenue streams. Or, to your first question, Mr. Moderator, the notion of traditional journalism surviving is in peril. I think it's intuitive, I think it's logical, I think it's not really arguable. We got to get to work at it.
Let me see if there's a parallel here between your comment on cost of goods sold and a piece of information that I'll share. Unfortunately, I'm not at liberty to share the name of the publisher because it's confidential. But
but my assessment of the New York Times was not privileged. This was my analysis based on publicly available data.
We work with a number of publishers, one of which is actually very well-known, large regional publisher that writes on a certain category, writes about 50 stories per day. The loyalists to that website visit on average once per day. And when they come, they see 3 stories. I can assure you that within the 47 that they do not see, there is value. If we were finding a different base of amortizing that cost that Richard is talking about, then I think the equation would begin to change. That is the work I do. It's not intended as a plug, but the work that my company does is exactly try to build the connections between people, content assets, and other types of transactions that can get content viewed by more people in a more valuable way so that they generate more revenue. So to my earlier comment about the organizational principles, I don't think this is a binary discussion. I think we're going to have to test a lot of models, and there's no silver bullet. There isn't one model, you know, for a large group of individuals that is going to solve the industry's problem.
So as far as the iPad and mobile apps, people are used to paying for mobile